Thanks for logging on to Wayne.com for another edition of Inside the Zone. He's Blake Sebring. I'm Glenn Marini. And Blake, before we really start analyzing the series, there is one question. Are the Komets in trouble at this point? Should we be pushing the panic button?
No, not necessarily pushing the panic button. I mean, if they win Wednesday night, it's 2-2 again. That'd be the third year in a row they've been 2-2 in the first round. And they've all been pretty similar. I mean, the Komets don't play well. They play down to the level of their opponent, and then they got to pick it up. And then they usually do take off from there. So, I mean, I don't know that I'd panic yet. I mean, they still have some adjustments to make, pretty easy adjustments in some cases. Port Huron can pretty much play one way right now. I mean, they've played perfectly for their game plan, but that's pretty much the only thing they can do right now.
What do you think Al Sims was like in the locker room on Sunday? Because it's one thing to go up to their place and lose a game in the fashion that they did, but on Sunday you're doing it at home. Komets had won 10 straight in the playoffs at home. That had to be a pretty disappointing loss, not only because it was at home, but also because it put you down 1-2 in the series.
Well, Al's really good about, what good does it do to blow up at the guys at that point? You might take a chance on losing them for us this series. I mean, it's better to be constructive rather than destructive. You can blow this whole team up right now. What's the point? You still got a chance. There's still a chance you could be a champion. No, I think he'll be pretty calm. He's always been really good at making mid-season adjustments. Remember last year when they couldn't score on Joel Martin, and he showed him a highlight video of all the goals they scored against Joel Martin during the year. I mean, he's always been really good at coming up with a little tweak that just kind of gets him back into what he wants him to do, and he's always been really good at that. So I think he'll probably come up with something like that again. We'll
break down some of the trends in the series, what they need to do here in just a little bit. But let's start off with Game 1 this past week, Thursday night at the Jungle. Obviously, being the 2 seed, Komets have the home ice advantage. Talk about what you saw in that one, because I think we saw, especially in the first 2 periods, Justin Hodgman looked like the best player out there on the ice.
I think he's been the best player on the ice the whole series. And I really expect Port Huron to go after him on Wednesday night, too. I really expect them to try to do to him what they're doing to Justin Shortork and Colin Chalk and some of that. They're going to try to take Haji off his game. And he's, in the past, he's been shown that, he will react to some of that stuff. And he won't just take it. So this will be fascinating to see how his game has matured that way, and see how he reacts to that. Personally, what I saw, after the first game, I thought the Komets were going to sweep. I mean, they just dominated the game. Port Huron could not keep up with them on the big ice surface. They just aren't quick enough. Which is why they have to play the style they play. They've really only got one option without Tab Lardner and Jason Selicki. I mean, their 2 best centers are out of the series, and they can only bang and hit and agitate and wait for power play chances and try to force turnovers in the neutral zone. We talked about that before the series started. And that's the only way that the IceHawks have the ability to play right now. It is a remarkably different game up in Port Huron, partly because the ice surface is so much better in Fort Wayne than it is in Port Huron. I've never seen a game where I saw so many players looking at their feet to see where the puck was the whole time. You could tell they were not confident. They didn't feel comfortable with it. And I think that's part of what led to a lot of the turnovers up there, too.
Yeah, and you take a look at the biggest difference. Do you think ice surface or just the
I think it's in there.
Size of the ice was
mental.
An issue?
It's all mental. I think they played pretty well up there. Nick Boucher kept him in the game. We've talked about this all season long. It really comes down to the forwards. I think the forwards have been playing really good defensively in this series so far, but they got to figure out some offense. It's like the closer they get to their own goal, the further away they get from the opponent's goal. I mean, they're not getting in front. They're not getting any rebounds. They're not getting any deflections. But they've been doing a really good job defensively. I mean, I've seen PC and Leo and Haji and Schrock. I mean, you've seen a lot of guys battling below their own goal line to get the control of the puck in the Komet zone. You just kind of need a little bit more of that at the other end.
All right, so they split the first 2 games in the series. Fort Wayne had to feel pretty good the way that they played up there on Saturday night. Come back on Sunday and lose 4-3 at home. Obviously, a little bit of a deflating loss, but talk a little bit about what you saw in that game that's going to have to get corrected here as the rest of the series progresses.
Well, the Komets had the best penalty kill in the league this year, and it hasn't shown up yet. Port Huron's got 4 goals. One of the things that's interesting to me is the Komets have outscored them 5-1 in the first period, and they've been up at least 2-1 or 2-0 in every game so far, and they've lost that lead. It's like the referees are going to even up the power plays. Port Huron's going to make a little extra effort, maybe take a little bit more offensive chances at that point. One thing we haven't seen yet is we haven't seen the Komets hit a breakaway yet. And usually when they get in that situation, Leo takes off, PC hits him with a pass, and they're gone. Or Haji, gets free, or Chodorek gets free. Haven't seen him try to stretch that neutral zone yet. I think that could be a key yet coming up. The other thing is they've got to just have to be more disciplined. I mean, they are giving Port Huron the momentum by taking all these penalties, and most of them are reaction plays to something that's been done to them. They're retaliating. They just can't do that. Colin Chalk has had, I think, 4 minors in the series so far, and he's had a bunch of minors all year. He can't. He's got to stay on the ice. I mean, period. He's got to stay on the ice. He's got to sit there and take it and stay on the ice. And it's obvious that they're going after him, and they're going after Justin Chodorek. He's a small guy, and they have some big guys, and if you notice, every time Justin gets hit, it's by a guy who's a foot taller than him, and they want him to react, and he has been reacting so far. And they're only going to call stuff on the puck. They're not going to call the stuff away from the puck. They're only going to call on the scoring chances or on the turn of possession. You got to be smarter than that. And I think this is a smart team, and so we'll see what happens. You haven't seen much out of David Huckalo yet. Usually he's great in the neutral zone. He's creating chances. He's turning it over. It's like he looks a little frustrated out there, a little confused a little bit. He's got to figure that out too. PC Druin's been playing fantastic defense. He hasn't been able to do a lot offensively, but this is the best defense I think I've ever seen PC play. He has been dominating in the neutral zone, picking pucks off and setting up guys. I think it's just a kind of a matter of time before he and O'Connor and Leo get hot again.